In the far reaches of the Galactic Council's territories, stars twinkled like scattered diamonds against the velvet expanse of space. The Council itself, a vast assembly of various alien species, governed this expanse with a complexity as intricate as the star maps that line the walls of their grand chambers. It was here that the most significant events in the galaxy were deliberated, and from these deliberations came a challenge unmatched in its scope and intellect: the game. The game was not merely a pastime but a testament to intelligence and strategic acumen, designed to stretch the mental capacities of the most advanced beings in the galaxy. It was played on a holographic board that represented a dynamic galaxy, complete with moving planets, asteroid fields, and occasional supernovas. Each player, representing their species, controlled fleets of ships, colonies, and had to negotiate, battle, and strategize their way to dominance. The rules were as deep and complex as the universe itself. This year, the game held a significance unlike any other. For the first time, a human was to participate. Humans, relatively new to the Galactic Council and lesser known for their interstellar political influence, were often underestimated in the arena of galaxy-wide strategies. The human participant was not a seasoned diplomat or a war-hardened fleet commander, but a child, a mere 10 years of age. Her name was Alara. Alara had not been chosen through the usual channels of bureaucratic selection or by the pedigree of her lineage. Instead, she had won her place by solving an impossible puzzle hidden within an ancient artifact discovered on a forgotten moon. This feat had caught the attention of the Galactic Council, and as a result, they extended an invitation to the game as both a challenge and an experiment. As Alara stood in the Grand Hall, her small frame was almost swallowed by the immensity of the chamber. Surrounding her were beings of various forms and sizes, some with glistening scales, others with multiple limbs, and some who floated without form, their thoughts a visible aura around their translucent bodies. Each of these participants was a master of their craft, representing the pinnacle of intellectual and strategic might for their species. The Grand Arbiter, a being known for its impartiality and encyclopedic knowledge of the laws of the universe, initiated the proceedings. Participants of the galactic game, this cycle we witness a new history, the introduction of a new species into our fold. Let us see what paths this young mind will explore. The game board sprang to life, its holograms casting light over Alara's determined face. Her eyes flickered across the board, taking in the multitude of galaxies, each a spiral of potential moves and countermoves. Her opponents wasted no time, their actions swift and their strategies unfolding with practiced precision. Alara's first move was cautious, establishing a small colony on a nearby habitable planet. This drew a murmur from the audience. It was a traditional, almost textbook opening, but the subtlety of her placement hinted at a deeper strategy. As the rounds progressed, Alara's style began to emerge. She was not just playing to survive, she was weaving a narrative, a story told through her expansions and her interactions with other players. She formed unlikely alliances with species known for their isolation, and she traded technology with those who were technologically stagnant. Her moves were unorthodox, sometimes even appearing in the spectral glow of the game board. Alara's next moves began to ripple through the currents of the Galactic Council's audience. Her tactics, initially dismissed by some as simplistic or naive, started to gain recognition for their subtle intricacies and unpredictable nature. Each of her decisions seemed to thread through a tapestry of interstellar diplomacy and hidden motives, unveiling not just a game strategy, but a reflection of a broader vision. Across from her, Threxel, the Tormau delegate known for his aggressive conquests, maneuvered his fleets towards a volatile star system, known to harbor precious resources. His eyes, 4 in number, each blinked asynchronously as he deployed his units with military precision. It was a typical move for Threxel, one expected by all, yet it carried a weight of certainty and power. Alara, observing Threxel's expansion, opted instead to solidify her alliances. Her next move was to a distant, unassuming planet at the edge of the game board. There she began constructing what initially seemed to be a standard research facility. However, the structure quickly evolved, revealing itself to be a hub for interspecies communication and trade. This wasn't just a play for points, it was a strategic positioning to make her a linchpin in the game's economy. Meanwhile, her ally, an AI entity known as Vorax, adjusted its strategies in tandem with Alara's moves. Vorax, typically a formidable opponent due to its computational prowess, began diverting resources to protect Alara's interests. This alliance puzzled many, as aligning with a human, especially a young one, was seen as a gamble. Yet, Vorax calculated the potential of long-term gain over short-term conquests, suggesting a shift in the usual dynamics of power. As the rounds unfolded, Alara's investments in trade and communication began to pay off. She brokered peace treaties between warring factions on the board, offering them access to her trade hubs in exchange for ceasefire agreements. These moves did more than just expand her territory. They shifted the flow of resources, making her a central figure in the game's economic sphere. Threxel, finding his resource routes pinched by Alara's diplomacy, grumbled in his native tongue, causing ripples of low-frequency sound to wash over the council chamber. He was forced to reconsider his approach, diverting fleets that would have otherwise engaged in battles to instead negotiate for access to Alara's burgeoning trade network. As Alara's network grew, so did her understanding of each player's motivations and tendencies. She didn't just play against them. She played into their goals, weaving her objectives with theirs in a way that both supported and advanced her position. The session came to a close with Alara quietly confident. Her board was not the most dominant in terms of raw power or territory, but it was pivotal in its influence. Her strategies had not only ensured her survival in the game, but had elevated her status to that of a master diplomat and strategist. The council members, initially skeptical, now watched with bated breath as this young human reshaped the landscape of their ancient game. As the game resumed, the dynamics within the council chamber had palpably shifted. Alara's influence had seeped into the very fabric of the game's interactions, creating an undercurrent of wary respect among her peers. Each move she made was now closely scrutinized, not just for its immediate impact, but for its potential to alter the strategic balance. In the distant regions of the game board, Lysandra, an emissary from the aquatic world of Hydros, sought to exploit the chaos resulting from Threxel's diverted attention. Her species, adept in the art of biological warfare, released a benign symbiotic organism into the trade routes. This organism, while harmless, enhanced communication and resource assimilation for those who accepted it, subtly expanding Lysandra's influence through a form of biodiplomacy. Alara, quick to recognize the potential of such an alliance, extended her own network to Lysandra. Together, they crafted a pact that would allow the symbiotic organism access to Alara's trade hubs, thereby integrating their economies. This partnership not only fortified Alara's position, but also brought Lysandra's subtle power plays into the limelight, presenting a new vector of alliance that other players had not foreseen. As Alara fortified her alliances, she also began to implement advanced technologies at her nodes. Her research facilities developed a type of quantum encryption that ensured secure communications across her network. This technology, though highly advanced, was shared openly with her allies, fortifying their defenses against espionage and cyber attacks from rivals like Threxel and the mechanically inclined Zentari. On the other side of the galaxy, the Zentari, a collective of cybernetic organisms, saw the growing coalition of biological and human players as a direct threat to their algorithmic methods of expansion. In response, they launched a series of calculated strikes aimed at undermining the economic stability of Alara's network. However, due to her new encryption technologies, these attempts were thwarted, leaving the Zentari to reconsider their stance in the game. As Alara's network became increasingly interconnected, it began to resemble less a collection of individual outposts and more a cohesive federation with its own culture and shared goals. The nuances of her strategy revealed a deeper understanding of the game's mechanics, one that encompassed not just the rules, but the players themselves. The session was nearing its end, and Alara, with her coalition, had established a new doctrine in the game, one that prioritized mutual growth and stability over territorial conquests. This approach was not only keeping her ahead in points, but also reshaping how other players approached their strategies. The game board was no longer just a battleground, but a living, breathing ecosystem of interdependent strategies, each influenced by Alara's vision of cooperative advancement. As the council members adjourned for the day, there was a sense among them that something significant was unfolding, a strategy not born of alien minds, but of a human child, whose understanding of complexity and cooperation might just redefine the meaning of power and success in the galaxy. As the next phase of the game commenced, the atmosphere in the council chamber was thick with anticipation and strategy. Alara, now a central figure in the evolving dynamics of the game, continued to extend her influence through a mix of diplomacy and innovation, her tactics becoming a blueprint for new forms of interstellar relations. Her latest venture involved the development of a multi-species cultural exchange program within her territories. This initiative wasn't merely a display of goodwill, but a strategic layering of cultural integration, designed to strengthen the bonds between her allies and make the cost of betrayal prohibitively high, both socially and economically. Each species contributing to the program brought something unique to the table, from arts and philosophy to technology and resources, enriching the collective and fortifying their unity against external threats. Meanwhile, Threxel, who had been somewhat marginalized by Alara's rise, plotted his resurgence. He engaged in deep space mining operations, extracting rare minerals that would be essential for advanced weaponry and shipbuilding. Realizing that direct confrontation had failed him previously, he shifted his focus towards building economic leverage, intending to outpace his rivals through sheer industrial might. Simultaneously, the serene and calculating AI Vorax had been silently observing the shifts in alliances and power. It began to compile data on every species' economic activities, using this information to predict and manipulate market fluctuations. By subtly influencing supply chains, Vorax created a scenario where both allies and rivals became dependent on its controlled resources, thereby weaving itself as an indispensable thread in the economic fabric of the game. Alara's response to these emerging threats was both swift and innovative. She introduced a new form of currency, backed by the collective resources of her federation. This currency, unlike any other in the game, was designed to be stable and resilient against manipulation, making it attractive not just to her allies, but also to neutral players who had grown weary of economic volatility caused by conflicts and power shifts. In the outer rim of the galaxy, where rogue elements and pirates had once flourished, Alara proposed the creation of a unified defense network, a coalition force tasked with maintaining peace and security. This initiative not only curbed piracy, but also provided a structured way for smaller or more militaristic factions to contribute positively to the broader community's stability. As Alara's initiatives took root, the narrative of the game shifted from one of conquest and domination to one of sustainability and cooperative development. Her approach brought about a renaissance of sorts in galactic affairs, where the focus moved from winning at all costs to thriving together. Threxel, now realizing that his solitary path might lead to isolation, began to seek a dialogue with Alara. His overtures, initially met with skepticism, gradually started to bear fruit as he committed resources to the defense network, slowly integrating into the system that Alara had built. With the galaxy's political landscape dramatically transformed, the players found themselves in a new era of the game. It was no longer just about the expansion of territories, but about the cultivation of interdependent societies that could withstand the vicissitudes of space and time. Alara's vision had seeded a transformation that might very well dictate the future course of galactic civilization. As the strategies and alliances of the game evolved, Alara's approach began to reflect not just a tactical brilliance, but a profound understanding of the galactic socio-political landscape. Her federation, once a fledgling experiment in multi-species cooperation, had grown into a model of universal governance, influencing even the most recalcitrant of species and players. In the midst of this transformation, a crisis erupted that would test the resilience of her newfound federation. A supernova threatened a key navigational route, endangering countless species and billions of lives throughout the galaxy. This disaster required an immediate and unified response, challenging the very principles upon which Alara had built her alliance. Alara convened an emergency summit, leveraging her extensive network to mobilize a response. The summit was a cacophony of languages and ideas, with representatives from different species voicing their concerns and offering solutions. It was here that Alara introduced a daring plan that involved the use of experimental technology to create a stable wormhole, redirecting the supernova's destructive energy into a dormant black hole, thus neutralizing the threat. This plan, however, required a level of trust and technological sharing that had never before been attempted on such a scale. Skeptics and conservatives alike balked at the potential risks. However, Alara's persistent diplomacy and the clear present danger of the supernova slowly turned the tide. Contributions of technology and resources began to flow, spearheaded by those who had once doubted her capabilities. Meanwhile, Threxel, whose own domains were threatened by the supernova, found himself reluctantly aligned with Alara's initiative. His engineers and scientists, working alongside other species, contributed crucial aspects to the wormhole project. This collaboration, initially born of necessity, began to foster a grudging respect between former rivals, hinting at a possible reconciliation and a future partnership. As the project progressed, Vorax utilized its vast computational resources to model the wormhole's parameters, ensuring the plan's success. This collective effort, a blend of numerous species' expertise and resources, culminated in the activation of the wormhole just as the supernova reached its peak. The energy was successfully channeled and dispersed, averting a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. The success of the wormhole project was a pivotal moment in the game. It demonstrated the power of collaborative effort over individual conquest and marked a turning point where mutual survival became as significant as strategic dominance. The council chamber, once a battleground of wits and cunning, had transformed into a forum of collective action and shared victories. In the aftermath of the crisis, the relationships within the Federation solidified. Economic and cultural exchanges flourished, with Alara's currency becoming a standard of trade and stability. The defense network, proven effective during the crisis, became a permanent fixture, offering peace and security previously thought unattainable. Alara's Federation had not just survived, it thrived, setting a new precedent for how civilizations could coexist and prosper. The game was no longer about winning in the traditional sense, but about redefining the very concept of success in the vast, unfathomable arena of interstellar relations. As the galaxy looked forward, it was clear that the rules of the game had changed, sculpted by a young human's vision of a united cosmic future. As the game neared its culmination, the shifts in power and strategy had redrawn the galactic map. Alara's coalition, once a mere participant in the grander scheme of the Galactic Council's game, now stood as a beacon of innovation and unity. Her vision had permeated the core strategies of even the most traditional players, fostering a new era where collaboration outweighed competition. In the final sessions, the council chamber buzzed with a sense of inevitability. The players, now interlinked through Alara's networks of trade, defense, and cultural exchange, found their goals aligning more with each other than against. It was a testament to the profound impact of Alara's diplomacy that former rivals now debated not over boundaries and resources, but over shared projects and joint explorations. Threxel, who had once viewed Alara's ascent with suspicion and challenge, now emerged as one of her staunchest supporters. His transformation from a conqueror to a collaborator was emblematic of the change that had swept through the galaxy. The resources and technologies he had amassed were now funneled into collective ventures, particularly in the development of space exploration technologies aimed at expanding the known boundaries of the galaxy. Vorax, the AI with its vast analytical capabilities, continued to serve as the backbone of the Federation's information and security network. Its role had evolved from a mere participant to a custodian of the Federation's digital infrastructure, ensuring that the flow of information and resources remained uninterrupted and secure. As the game approached its final phase, a celebratory mood took over the previously competitive atmosphere. Alara proposed a grand project, emblematic of the new era, the creation of a massive interstellar habitat, a space station that would serve as a cultural and scientific hub for the galaxy. This station would not only be a testament to the technological and cultural achievements of the Federation, but also a symbol of their united vision for the future. The project received unanimous support, with each member of the Federation contributing according to their capabilities and strengths. The construction of the station became a collective endeavor that symbolized the unity and diversity of Alara's coalition. When the game officially ended, it was not with a declaration of a winner in the traditional sense, but with a grand inauguration of the interstellar habitat. The station, named the Nexus of Unity, floated majestically among the stars, its design reflecting the aesthetics and functionalities of multiple civilizations. It was more than a space station. It was a microcosm of the galaxy itself, peaceful and thriving under the principles Ilara had championed. Ilara, standing before the assembly at the inauguration, reflected on the journey. Her speech highlighted not her own achievements, but the collective spirit and the shared dreams that had brought them to this point. She spoke of a future where the galaxy moved forward, not as fragmented entities competing for dominance, but as a unified body exploring the vast unknown together. As the delegates dispersed, returning to their respective worlds, they carried with them a sense of accomplishment and a new perspective on what it meant to be a part of the Galactic Council. The game had changed them, and they, in turn, had changed the game. In the end, the legacy of this iteration of the Galactic game was not recorded in the victories or defeats of its players, but in the enduring alliance they had formed. Under the stars, the Nexus of Unity stood as a beacon, a lasting symbol of the possibilities when unity and diversity converge in the vast theater of the cosmos.